Okay, it's time for it. We're gonna do this top 50 albums 2022. It was a pretty good year, I'd say. We got a good handful of 50 albums, and I kind of listened to all of them I want to listen to. There's a little bit. I'll put a list at the end of the video. You'll see the ones I didn't get to listen to. Before that, anyways, here are some of the EPs, mixtapes. These are my faves. You know, they won't, even some of them even being a little bit lengthy maybe, but not putting them on the list because they are categorized as something different, not albums. But without further ado, let's get into it, okay? Let's just get into it, okay? Number 50, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Kendrick Lamar at number 50. Now, first off, I have to say, a Kendrick Lamar album being this low, for me personally, is kind of shocking. You know, before this album came out, I really thought that it was gonna be higher, I suppose. But regardless, I do feel like Kendrick Lamar is still a very introspective writer. I think the way he was writing songs on here too, I don't think he's really straight to the point. Beat-wise, though, I really think he's very pushing the envelope. I think, even though he still made numbers, I feel like these songs do not feel as commercial to me as other albums. Yeah, still quite a good album thematically. Him really delving. I would say this album too is much more about himself in comparison to maybe other projects being about society as a whole. This is him putting his own placement on things, yeah, and he's certainly matured for sure. And regardless, I'm definitely interested in what he does next. Oh, actually, that's 49. Sorry, I counted a mixtape. So that's 49. Do you want me to take you to 50? We're going to do this a little bit different, okay? That was 49. 50, Back to Life, Thaiboy Digital. Yeah, I like this album, okay? This could have been higher if I felt I was getting more from Thaiboy. You know, this YouTube channel has definitely thrived off Drain Gang stuff. But to me, this is just a really, really fun project, okay? We're getting much more the same with all these tracks. Thaiboy, lyrically, I'd say he's being a cutie pie. He's being a sweetheart. Okay, he's not really someone who I feel has this angry or angsty energy. I feel like he's much more of an optimist on this album. It's very cutesy stuff. It's definitely worth your while. 48. Gilla Band, Most Normal. I think this may be the first album I've heard from them. I've heard tracks from them beforehand, but very strange industrial rock project. I feel the vocalist is, you know, in the way that they sing things is certainly out there. Yeah, this is a strange project. It's definitely worth your listen. Next up here, Omnium Gatherum, King Gizzard. Second favorite project by them. You'll see the other one that I listened to on here. But this is a great album. Great album. It's lengthy. It's lengthy even without the 20-minute track. But I feel like this album is showing that they do have other genres to really jump into. I mean, we already know that. Okay. We already know that, but I think they make a lot of great, like, pop tracks. He's certainly still good beat-wise, but I really feel like if it wasn't for the way that he wanted to come on this so, like, I mean, he isn't, but the way he comes off is still very cracked out, like, this is a very personal album. I think he is writing things. I think he still has an ability to flex on here, but he flexes very. He flexes in a way where he seems humble. I feel like when it comes to rap music, it's certainly not about being humble, but I feel it here. J.I.D, very good. Next up, No Thank You, Little Simz. This is a short project, very short project. Little Simz very solely samples on this. It's cut very clean. Compared to her last album, I'd say this isn't going as deep, maybe. Like, to me, this almost didn't feel like it wanted to say much conceptually as an album in comparison to maybe even the album Gray Area. Yeah. Where it didn't have that same sort of single quality. But I think you can really sit back, enjoy the beats. They're very laid back, and she's speaking from a point of view of kind of, in a way, I feel like she's really discussing like fighting people who don't treat her with the respect she deserves in a way. Like, she's really trying to speak from her independence. You know what I mean? Her strength. Really, that's what I find from this project. So it's good. It's quite good. What else we got here? Time Skiffs, Animal Collective. Yeah, Animal Collective, they're still making music and they're still selling it. I think their last album they released was a couple years ago, and that wasn't really that impressive. But they come back here, and it's great psychedelic music. Okay, this is a shorter album, 9 tracks or something like that, so there's no room for misses. They're still doing same old. I will say I don't find this album as experimental or changing music as they've done in the past, but it's very they're still doing the futuristic Beach Boys shit, and I'm liking it. Ooh, next up, Earl Sweatshirt. He's laid back, okay? He's a laid back man in the rap game. It's, he's less conceptual than when it comes to some rap songs, but he's clean, okay? He's a clean man, okay? I find his lyricism to be weird. I can't get into what he's saying completely, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's a sense of distance that I have with him. Which is just an observation. Some of these songs are really good driving songs. Tabula Rasa, I find to be one of those for sure. Yeah, good on him. Next up is the other King Gizzard, Ice Death Planets, Lungs, Mushrooms, and Lava. This is it's lengthy, but there's not that many songs on here, and I feel like the reason there's songs I kind of like on the other project maybe more. Omnium, but this does. It has the better tracks. Really intense jam, lengthy songs that are detailed, and the instruments really telling the story. I'm really enjoying his political lyricism. Naturally, I feel like he has a lot to say. I feel like potentially he could be more focused later in his career, or he even there's a cute little song, a romance song on here as well. Yeah, it's quite nice, and I'm glad to see Chipmunk Soul being brought, and Chip being brought back, but also being brought back by by a very new name. Kenopsia, Quannnic next. Yeah. This is my type of rock music, I guess. Emo, very noisy. This is a very angsty project, which, the person who wrote this is relatively young, so I feel like they're really able to hone in on those certain types of emotions. Yeah, very good, very well produced. Takes emotions that I could have felt from albums that were released a few decades ago, but, sounds very futuristic. This very being closely connected to Dead Air Records, stuff that Jane Remover is doing. But I feel like this is trying to move more into this rock realm of it. Still obviously having electronic influences, but. Next up, God's Country, Chat Pile. First off, it's quite an accessible metal album. Okay, because I remember listening to an EP by Chat Pile a little while ago, and it's straight up screamo. Okay, there's screaming elements to this for sure, but I feel the structures of the songs more. I'm not, I find metal music to be hard to pick up on, too much going on really, but I felt the structures of these songs lyrically too. Lyrically, these songs are fucking dark. but I do feel like it's very socio-political, and I enjoy that. So God's Country, good stuff. Man Plays the Horn. Next up, Cities of Viv. There's another Cities of Viv album that came out. I didn't get to listen to it, but this is a strange album. Okay, for me, this really is the abstractual beats that I'm really getting from this. Shorter tracks, lengthier album. There's one song on here that's like 12 minutes, which is fucking feels kind of out of place, but what Cities of Viz wants to do, at least with soundscapes, I'm really excited for, so keep on with that. Yeah, very interesting project. Next up here, just listen to this, Fossora by Bjork. Weird. I would say this is one of her weirder projects, and you know, Bjork has never been known for making normal music, I guess, but what she's trying to, and I still would say maybe Vonacura is the weirdest I've seen her at, where it's still a little bit more stripped back. Weird vocals on this. I almost feel the way that this album sounds is, it's very easy to like put on with headphones maybe and lay back, close your eyes. Very ethereal stuff. You know, Bjork's been doing it for a long time, and she's still quite impressive. Okay, let's give a clap for her. She's still killing it. Next up here, Giving the World Away, Hatchie. I don't think I like, this is still decently high, I guess, but I don't like this as much as Keepsake or that EP that she did, but still loving this sort of, it sounds like Britpop, I guess. She's not from Britain, though. She is from Australia. But this is a very 90s dream pop sound. A lot of nostalgia found with these tracks. Very single. This feels like a very single heavy album. Like, to me, when I was already saying this in the singles video, but to me, listening to these songs, like, I can feel like if there was a music video, like, it'd be playing on fucking, I don't know, like MTV or some shit like that. Like, I think what Hatchie is doing is very commercial music, and it's such a shame that she's not big enough for me. I think they deserve more numbers for sure, so check that out. I Love You, Jennifer B. Next up, Jockstrap is a debut project. Impressive electronic stuff. Electronic, but it's also very genre blending, obviously leaning into an alternative sound. Very weird stuff. It's very, the album is, I guess it's short, but it's very chaotic in my opinion still. Weird. I don't know what else to really say about it, but it's worth your listen. Next up here, Ruby Chord, Richard Dawson. I'm glad Richard Dawson made it to this list, I guess, because I've listened to Richard Dawson before, and I like Richard Dawson, but I'm not head over heels for Richard Dawson. But holy shit, this album is great. He's very emotive vocally. Lyrically, it's not fully for me. You know, I can still really enjoy this without getting into the lyrics, because I feel like what he's trying to do is not like, you know, it's thematic, well, it's cinematic in a way. You know, he's bringing it back to that Joanna Newsom sort of era, you know what I mean? Like, feeling like it's from the medieval times or whatever. Obviously, too, this is going to be up here when he has, like, this fucking impressive 40-minute track that this album starts off with. It's cool. It's a very cool project, and I haven't heard anything else like it this year, so, you know, it sells on that alone for sure. Next up here, Spiderr, Bladee. This album came around to me a good bit. It's a weird one. When it comes to Bladee, at least I feel like he's trying to do something new. You know, maybe there's albums I've liked more. I don't know. I'm trying to think, like Red Light is sort of around the same quality for me with this album, I guess. I love, you know, I have some sort of bias for some of the tracks on Red Light, but this album, I feel like it's trying to do different sounds throughout it, at least. Like, I feel like coming back to it, you know, like sometimes an album, like, you really understand the changes of track listing going back and forth, right? And the catchy memorability is the track listing and how it's, so I think there's a pretty interesting placement with that. Obviously enjoying his little pop punk little endeavors that he was trying to do. He has pretty interesting rap moments on Icarus and Drain Story. I fuck with it. I do. Next up here, Ugly Season, Perfume Genius. This is an odd one. I mean, Perfume Genius, again, odd artist, but I felt like they were still moving into a more art pop. I guess this is considered art pop, but it doesn't feel like that for me. These songs are a little bit lengthier, a little bit more ambient. Even the way he's trying to come off vocally is just creepier. You know what I mean? I wouldn't really say Perfume Genius is creepy for me in an earlier time. I'd say creepy though in still a beautiful way, I guess. This is an odd project, but I have a lot of respect for it. You know, it's not one of those albums where I put it on and I'm like, woo, woo, woo. I'm more like, like it's got a very very specific sound to it, I suppose. I enjoy it. Next up here, Skinty Fia, Fontaines D.C. This is more of a straight up rock album. Rock, punk album. I think this is a very accessible band. I think maybe, I don't know if I prefer the album before this, but this really has that strong, hard energy for it for me. Even really understanding this album with specific songs, I really feel like when I was listening to this album, I'd be sitting there and like listening. You know what I mean? Like, I would get hooked by what he's trying to say. You know, there's rap albums that are higher up on this list where maybe I was having more fun with it, with the beats or you know, sort of witty things being said. But with this, I just feel like it. And honestly, too, there is still catchy elements to this track. I'm thinking about that. All these precious things. What song is that? Yeah, Precious Things. Yeah. This is a shorter album too. Shorter, sweet. Next up here, lengthier, Strange Project, Preacher's Daughter, Ethel, Cain, Indie Queen. Oh yes, this album is so fucking. It's a sad project that you have to be patient for. Like, it's very. I'd say it certainly is very hard to get through this project, but I almost feel like that there's an intent to why it feels that way. For sure. Yeah, and this is, I don't think this is a debut, but this is like very relevant release for her. It's good. I want to see what comes out next. And here we go, A Light for Attracting Attention, The Smile. Oh yeah, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Very, again, one thing I'll say about this album I think is interesting, for Radiohead at least, or Tom and side projects that he's done, you know, with bands at least, you know, he has his solo work and it's very electronic and strange, where he went from pop electronic to more glitch electronic, and then Atoms for Peace was a weird one, still working on an electronic angle. This is, I think I even said in the video that this rock sound, if I was to compare it to Radiohead, would sound like the rock songs that were on Hail to the Thief. Really, I feel the most. There's a groovy nature to a lot of tracks on here as well. Coming back to the album, I had more respect for the emotion, like emotional elements on this. Yeah, not entirely what I was expecting from them to be released. Like, you know, I don't feel like he's really pushing the envelope as they have, like even with a Moon-Shaped Pool. But it's still an impressive project, one, you know, front to back, and you know, and even though I said there were sad elements, there's fun to be had here. You know, there's a lot of fun to be had. You know, I can tell while listening that there really was this performance back and forth with people, so it's excellent. Next up here, Soul Glow, Diaspora Problems. It's nuts. This is nuts, okay? Comedic. I find this very comedic. It's very, very, very political. You know, it's not trying to hide what it's trying to say. I find it's its production too, I'd say, when it comes to hardcore music, not what you would expect. You know, instrumentation is not blending in with each other, being forceful. I really feel like the sound of things are... Yeah, I really feel like the sound of things are mixed well with him. Especially, too, because I feel like the lead vocalist on this, at least, wants to be more present than is completely necessary for hardcore music. But this is strange. This is a strange one, worth your time. Next up here, Suave Pendiente, Niños del Cerro. This is the first time I've heard of them, and I heavily enjoyed this project. It took me a while to get this one. This is much more of your laid-back indie project. Obviously, I'm not getting much lyrically from this. It's a different language. I don't really remember the lyrics. I'd read them before, but very clean, very light stuff. Very light. Like, it's a very light experience to listen to this. Yeah, it's quite good. Shigeros, I guess, lead singer, kind of reminds me of that, but they're not really trying to do a post-rock or really build things up to an emotional swelling in that degree, but quite good. Next up, No Fear of Time, Black Star. Feels weird to even have this on the list because I haven't really went back to it because I can't, right? I listened to it on the podcast service for a little while, gave it a few listens. I was like, oh yeah, I really like this, and this is where it ends up on the list, basically. Beats are very nice, soul-y. You know, I like soul beats, okay? Simple as that. And if I recall, they were being, you know, there was certainly political lyricism, but there's very religious or spiritual lyricism as well. So I felt like what I was getting, albeit short, was deep. It was quite deep. Next up here, City of Crows, Sick Boy Rari, fast-paced, catchy trap music. Okay, I've not always been the fan of Sick Boy Rari because I feel like he's done strange things vocally that kind of turned me off from him, but here that didn't really happen. It didn't really happen. I found I could listen to the album again and again and again. This came out in December, but front to back, go again and again and again. Very easy to listen to. And honestly, I feel like this is the one album out of his where I'm like, yo, you could put this on at a party, okay? So good for Sick Boy Rari for that. Next up, Billy Woods with Church. And this, yeah. This is a great album. Okay? Whoever he got for doing beats on this one, this is a little bit more laid back than his other project, which I guess I'll talk about because that is 2 Up. Okay, so now we know what that number is. Ethiopia's Billy Woods, which I think I just put up above this one based off of that one has a little bit more of a stranger sound to it. It feels much more like it wants to you to experience something as an album in comparison. Church, laid back. Ethiops, not laid back. It wants you to pay attention a little bit more. Billy Woods, weird lyricist. He's a strange bastard. In between the Billy Woods albums, I guess, is like the complete opposite of a sound of rap music, but Too Alive Yeet, okay? I spent a lot of time listening to this album. You know, this to me is like the high energy sort of music of the year, okay? Gets me going. It gets me going. The more time you spend with this project, because the first time I listened to this album, I wasn't a fan, but coming back to songs... you know, to give you 20 tracks that are all equally as catchy, and, you know, first time going, you don't know why, like, if they're catchy for different reasons, and when you come back, you find out that they are, you know what I mean? So, to find something that seems to, like, at face value, seems to not have substance, it actually has a lot of substance, so I had a lot of fun with that. Next up here, Dragging New Warm Mountain, I Believe in You, Big Thief. Very, very intense folk project, gotta give it to them. You know, I think there's like 20 tracks on this. 20 tracks too where lots of different sounds, you know, lots of different angles to take folk or country sound, and to me, I guess maybe this album isn't high up because of like being able to listen to the album front to back, but because it was, you know, I was able to enjoy and appreciate all the different types of sounds that they were giving. You know, Big Thief wouldn't always reach this high for me. I've liked them, but I haven't liked them this much. But this is quite an impressive project, I must say. Next up, Bad Mode, Hikaru Utada. Very well produced pop music. Very well produced pop music. Catchy ass shit. You know, I don't really listen to J-pop, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. There's some, the song Not in the Mood too, you know, like that's a very, like a psychedelic song working on these nice drums. Somewhere near Marseille, right, you have like this club track. Find Love, okay, chorus heavy pop track, but nice drum that's on there. Oh my gosh, she killed it for me, okay? I enjoyed that album. I enjoyed the fuck out of that project. Okay. Next up here, the Loser Gospel. This is like the screamo or the hardcore album that stood out for me the most, I guess. Yeah. You know, the problem with these types of albums is, although I was really impressed with this project, I need to come back to it again. I haven't listened to it in a while, but very easy to listen to. 8 tracks. I don't know what to say about it. I haven't listened to it in a long time, but it's fucking, you know, it's really good. It made it up this far. So, you know, that's your, if you haven't listened to it, I guess, check it out. Next up here, Dawn FM, The Weeknd. Weeknd's one of my faves, and it'll always be the case. It'll always be the case, okay? Sure, I enjoy the concept of this. I think it's cute. I think it's cool. Again, that concept to it is much, it's not meant to, you're not meant to feel it heavily, I think. I don't think that was his intention. It's sort of just something to keep in the back of your mind while listening to these very, very impressive pop tracks, okay? Not a lot of people do it better than him, you know what I mean? To have this like whole album where, you know, every song comes on and, you know, I'm probably going to sing it. I'm probably going to sing that shit, okay? Good. Very good. Next up here, Daria Core 3, at least I think that's what it's called. Leroy, Concern. This is my favorite of the Daria Cores, to be honest. I don't know what it was. First off, I think I was much more aware of the songs that they were sampling on this one. That being more relevant to, like, the overall mix of things. And this wasn't as high as when I first listened to it, but I couldn't stop listening to this, you know what I mean? Like, this album is like a sugar high. It really is. Like, the sound of this, the fast, like, you know what I mean? It's, your brain is going a million miles a minute. I keep playing this album at work, too, because I just find it so funny, you know? Like, you know, you can put music on at work and people just be chilling, doing their job, but you put this on at work, trust me, it gets a reaction. People be like, what the fuck is this, Riley? And I'll be like, well, it's Daria Core. A clean and very peaceful project, I will say. Maybe it's my favorite Natalia Lafourcade. Because I still enjoy the Un Canto por Mexico Volume 1. I think there's more poppier tracks that I can really identify with. But this one, listening more front to back, it's really well put together, for sure. Next up, Once Twice Melody, Beach House. Yeah, Beach House is back, okay? They really fucking killed it with this one. I'm not sure, I feel like I still like 7 more than this, but this one is it's long, okay? Just like the Big Thief one, I guess. Although this one I feel is not like Big Thief in the sense the Big Thief one sort of changes genre a little bit better, mixing around within a genre. This one not as much, but it's just got hits after hits, okay? You got 18 tracks, and so, you know, when you're finished with the album, you're leaving with a lot. You're leaving with a lot to love, okay? Even if there is, like, your least favorite tracks on here, so have you. The best tracks, there's lots of them. Yeah, very blissful stuff. Next up, King's Disease 3, Nas. Finally just listened to this recently, and yeah, I loved it. I loved it. Nas has a lot of confidence that he comes on to here on this. Catchy songs, like catchy beat-wise. And there's lots of tracks on this. There's about 17. Shorter, there's decent short lengths to these songs as well. Yeah, give it up for Nas. Like, loving it. Loving it. Motomami next. Rosalia. Didn't expect to have so much fun with Rosalia for sure. This one too, I feel like this album has enough change on it, or at least even the like. She's doing little weird things vocally now and again on this that I find very interesting, or even Chicken Teriyaki, that's a weird one. Like I feel like her desire to be weird on this is something I respect, even though sometimes she's not. She's being more vocally. There's more beautiful moments instead of just strange moments. I think the beats sometimes take shine on things for sure. The last song on this album too, quite impressive. Sakura, you know what I mean? Like more of this balladry thing that she's doing. So I feel like she has a lot to say. The soundscape on this is wonderful. So good for her, Rosalia. And although I've liked Rosalia before, I guess I've just never been as impressed as I was on this album, so cool. Next up, Blue Rev, Always. First few times listening to this album, it wasn't this high. Just feeling like the songs kind of sounded too similar, but then when I came back to it, I was like, oh, no. Like, now, like, they all feel like they have, they're just so easy to listen to. It's very easy to get through this project and enjoy every single one. So it did really get up higher for me at the end. And I wouldn't even say that my reasoning for liking this album is what I was getting from it lyrically initially, right? Because it's very, you could take this, be like, okay, there's cute little love tracks throughout this, but at the end of the day, it's very tight and a very tight and thought through project. But it's well made, a lot of fun jangle stuff. So and I do think it's is it my favorite Always? I don't know. First album is still more memorable for me maybe, but whatever. Yeah, top 10 here, man. We're starting off 3 coke rap albums. Tana Talk 4. Fantastic beats, fantastic raps. It shocks me. Griselda is really come out of nowhere for me, although they have certainly been doing it for quite a little while. Tana Talk 4, very impressive. Next up, It's Almost Dry, another coke rap, but different types of beats, right? Not really working on these old school type beats, much more very hard in your face, still cut up chipmunk soul. Nice pairing of what we got from Kanye and then from Pharrell. Also, Pusha T is a much different lyricist, but he's still clever and it's a lot of fun. Next up here, Hitler Wears Hermes. 10, West Side Gun. This is a new one for me. Just recently listened to it. It certainly blew me away. It's a lot of fun. This album too, not liking the beats on this one. I think there's just a fuck ton of great features too. Oh my gosh. So this is a lot of fun. Not like the Benny or what we will see Conway, but it's great. Next up here, Hellfire Black Mini, one of the greatest prog albums in recent times for sure. It's just a very impressive cinematic project for me, and continuously what they're doing is very colorful for me. It's worth it. It's worth listening to. Very short project too, but each song has just this insane amount of technicality. Cavalcade had a lot of technicality to it as well, but I feel like this one is trying to be more energetic, more fast-paced. Yeah. Next up, In the Darkness, Hearts Aglow, Wise Blood. She's still killing it for me. I almost like this. I feel like I almost like this as much as Titanic Rising. It's quite close, but it's just a very light singer-songwriter project. I'm liking what she's doing lyrically. I do find her to be a very personable person. She's not going deep in like a dark, depressing way. I feel like she's has a sense of just there's a chill nature to the way that she wants to look at things. almost, I feel like she's really in control. Obviously, too, these have this happy, upbeat sort of 70s rock vibes to them as well. And yeah, it's a short album. You know, it's a short album, and I'm glad that she's killing it. She's having a good with Titanic Rising in this one. She's really building her career now, and I think in a decade from now, how memorable she's going to be is insane. Next up, Blade Echo 2K with Crest. They really, again, this is another short project. Oh my gosh, only 9 songs, but what they're doing here, much more, you know, taking away from rap, and much more this very odd pop sound that they're doing here is brilliant. It's brilliant. You know, to sort of see them collabing is sort of where the genius is coming out. Yeah. Goddamn. It's very easy. It's a very easy to listen to. This was definitely, out of the Drain Gang, the most instantaneous project I got in this year. So yeah. Next up, God Don't Make Mistakes, Conway the Machine. Now, out of all the albums with Griselda, this one, it's got the dirtiest beats. I also think it's the most conscious. Like, I think conceptually, like an album front to back, this isn't like, okay, a lot of rap songs, a lot of beats, love my, you know, clever bars. I think he, like, listening to it front to back, you, like how tight it is and how you're sitting with it. Less fast paced, I guess. It's very dark. I think it's my second favorite rap album. We'll get into my next favorite rap album, but yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Here we go. These are the 310s of the year. Here we go. God Save the Animals, Alex G. I don't know what it was about this album, but I wouldn't stop listening to it once it came out. I kept listening to it just naturally, and it's led up to be one of my favorites of the year. I think I really like Alex G on a religious level. For sure. He's so sad on this project. He is such a sad boy. I don't know, it just seems like he's, in a way, he has a positive outlook on life. At least this is how I'm reading it through these songs. A positive outlook on life. You know, he may have people close to him, but at the end of the day, there's still a certain sense of introversion that he has with people. But he is fighting. I almost get a sense of fighting from these songs. Fighting for... fighting to experience life and all its opportunities. And again, he does talk on this album too of like sort of confusion of what to do with his life as he continues to still write music. Like, is this what I'm still supposed to be doing? I'm pretty sure this sort of comes up with in the song Mission, I believe. Yeah, and also too, I think this is such a creative step forward for folk music. This electronic or this auto-tune is just really working with me. Holy shit, yeah. Good band. Good on him. Next up here, Cheat Codes, Danger Mouse, Black Thought. Very short, very tight rap album. Greatest beats. Pretty good verses, like features, but that's not really what shines out for me. It's just like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's like less than 40 minutes. And every song is very easy, very smooth, very, you know, the soul samples are just tight. I have no problem getting through this front to back at all. Yeah, take notes on the beats for sure. It's very smooth. When it comes to the other rap albums that kind of came up high on this list, sure, like Griselda, working on soul beats for sure, but there's a gritty nature to it. So there's a lot of grit, toughness to it. I don't feel the toughness to this one. I feel like it's all very melting nice together. Okay, think like melted chocolate. Okay, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, it's very good. Very impressive project. Number one, should be no surprise to people, and this is probably going to be a number one for many, but yeah, Ants from Up There. Blind Country New Road. If those other two were 10s, this is an 11. This is one of the best albums of all time. Easily. Now, you know, Black Country New Road, the album that they brought before this, was an extremely creative project. Very taking me back to the post-rock that came before math rock, right? Like listening to it, like I'm listening to it and I'm like, oh yeah, these fuckers were on MU. Like they knew all, like they took inspiration from that shit for sure. And it was a very short project. Front to back, it's slightly messy in a way, right? But very creative lyrically too. Like this frontman Isaac is a very visual storyteller, but here this is much more conceptual. It's not and it feels more personal. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like they're trying to make silly songs. If anything, now it's making deeply emotional tracks, where front to back. And again, when I first listened to this album, making a reaction for it and having to analyze this stuff, you really do feel trapped in the webs of his mental state. And again, him having to leave the band, he was going through, you know, mental health issues. You certainly recognize that in these songs. I just it's such a stunning album. I did not think I was going to get something like this. I didn't think I was going to get something like this. Especially, too, already liking what I was getting from Blind Country New Roads beforehand, and they're a new band. That's the one thing here, right? They haven't been doing this for that long. So, you know, certainly you had expectations. You're like, oh yeah, they're great. Black Country New Roads, I heard about them a few years ago, yeah. But you weren't expecting them to make something that seems, you know, as mature as this. You know what I mean? Like, or something that ages to this degree where you know, I'm talking about this, well, I guess it came out in February too, so almost a year since it came out, but I'm like, it has this like aura around it where it already feels like it has classic status, sort of like, this isn't a specific example of sound, but when you think about an album like In the Airplane Over the Sea, Nutri-Milk Hotel, for instance, and how that sort of stature for people in music history, like how good of an album that is, this already like has that for me. You know what I mean? Impressive. That's my list. Okay, that's my list. Loads of great music. I'm excited for what's to come in 2023. And an hour from when I'm recording this, it's 11:18 p.m. on Thursday. Butcher House is coming out, okay? Cemetery, we're going to have already some new music for 2023. Woo! Okay. If there's anything you want to see from me, any reactions, or any video ideas, all you have to do is ask, okay? Write a comment down below. And it could be likely I can do it, okay? Yeah. Thank you for watching, and peace.